The year is 1187. In the grand sweep of history, some years are mere markers, while others are fulcrums upon which the world turns. This is one such year. A sense of foreboding hangs heavy in the air, thick as the dust on the sun-baked roads of the Holy Land. A storm that has been brewing for decades is about to break. For nearly a century, a most improbable creation has existed here: the Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem. It is a realm born of the fiery zeal of the First Crusade, a sliver of Latin Christendom transplanted thousands of miles from its European home. For 90 years, against all odds, it has endured. Forged in the crucible of blood and faith, its foundations were laid by the first Crusaders, who carved out a territory they considered their sacred birthright. But that initial fire has cooled, replaced by the harsh realities of governance. Now the Kingdom of Jerusalem stands as a lonely outpost, a Frankish island in a vast Islamic sea. This is a world away from the green fields of France or England. The descendants of the original Crusaders, known as the Franks, have adapted. Here, colossal stone castles, marvels of military engineering, bake under a relentless sun. They are symbols of dominance and survival, anchors in a hostile landscape. On the dusty, sun-scorched roads, knights in heavy mail patrol the frontiers. The heat is a constant enemy, as formidable as any human foe. They are surrounded on all sides by territories whose rulers view them as invaders. The peace is fragile, and the borders are never truly secure. On a map, the kingdom's vulnerability is laid bare. It is not a solid state, but a fragile patchwork of fortresses and cities like Acre and Tyre, linked by perilous roads. This entire realm clings precariously to a narrow strip of the Levantine coast, a thin line of defense against the vast interior. Its survival has always depended on a constant lifeline to the west, a steady flow of pilgrims, money, and warriors to replenish their dwindling ranks. But now, in 1187, that lifeline feels more tenuous than ever. Europe is consumed with its own conflicts, and the kingdom itself is rotting from within. The leadership is stretched thin, its resources depleted. Worse, the high court is paralyzed by factionalism. The barons are divided by bitter rivalries and consuming personal ambition. Two main parties have emerged: the court party, a hawkish group eager for war, and the noble party, established barons who favor diplomacy. On the throne sits King Guy of Lusignan. A recent arrival from France, he is handsome but widely seen as a weak and indecisive ruler. He is king not by blood, but by marriage to Queen Sibylla. His claim is tenuous, a stark contrast to the revered memory of his predecessor, the brilliant leper king, Baldwin IV. His court is a nest of vipers. Powerful nobles, men like the pragmatic Raymond of Tripoli, who once held the regency, openly question Guy's competence. They plot against him in the shadows, seeing his weakness as a direct threat to the kingdom's survival. They argue endlessly over strategy. Should they honor the truce with the great Sultan Saladin, as Raymond advises? Or should they follow the aggressive provocations of men like Reynald de Chatillon, the reckless lord who repeatedly breaks treaties by attacking Muslim caravans for personal profit? This disunity is a slow-acting poison, sapping the kingdom's strength. It paralyzes decision-making and erodes trust. While the great lords bicker, the soldiers on the frontiers grow ever more anxious, knowing their leaders are more interested in fighting each other than the true enemy. Here, war is not an event, but a condition of life. Raids and skirmishes are a constant rhythm in the borderlands. Horse archers can appear without warning, striking villages and trade routes. Every farmer tills his field with a sword nearby. Every merchant travels under the constant threat of attack. In this climate of instability, the true backbone of the kingdom's defense are the military orders, the Knights Templar and the Knights Hospitaller. They are warrior monks, the kingdom's only standing professional army, garrisoning the most dangerous castles and forming the elite shock troops of any field army. The Kingdom of Jerusalem is balanced on a knife's edge, internally divided, militarily overstretched, and diplomatically isolated. And now, the very ground beneath it is beginning to shake. For across the border, the Muslim world has been forged into a single, powerful empire by one man, a brilliant strategist and devout leader. His name is Salah al-Din, known to the West as Saladin, and he has sworn an oath to drive the Franks into the sea and reclaim Jerusalem. To the east, a storm is gathering, a force of nature given human form. Its name is Salah al-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyub, a Kurd who rose through the ranks on sheer merit and unwavering faith. Known to the Crusaders as Saladin, he is more than a warlord. He is a scholar, a devout Muslim, and a political visionary whose ambition extends far beyond personal power. For decades, the Muslim world was a tapestry of rival emirates, an easy target for the Crusader states. Saladin changed everything. Ascending to power in Egypt, he turned north to Syria. Through shrewd diplomacy and decisive force, he methodically stitched these lands together, forging the once divided states of Egypt and Syria into the Ayyubid Sultanate, a single mighty empire with a singular purpose. At the heart of this empire lies a profoundly sacred goal: to reclaim Jerusalem. For nearly a century, the Holy City, home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, Islam's third holiest site, has been under Christian rule. The memory of its brutal capture during the First Crusade has never faded. For Saladin, this is not a war of conquest, but of liberation. He has sworn an oath to drive the Christian invaders from the Holy Land. But Saladin is a patient strategist. He knows passion alone cannot defeat heavily armored knights. For years, he has meticulously built a professional, disciplined army, centered on a core of elite Mamluk slave soldiers, loyal only to him. His force is bolstered by veteran Kurdish cavalry, Turkoman horse archers, and a wave of impassioned volunteers. He has been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As he waits, he watches his enemies. He understands the kingdom of Jerusalem is tearing itself apart. He sees their fatal flaws, their arrogance, and their crippling internal divisions. The nobility is split between a war party, led by the indecisive King Guy of Lusignan, and a peace party under the pragmatic Raymond of Tripoli. This political infighting has paralyzed the kingdom, leaving it vulnerable. One man, more than any other, embodies this crusader arrogance: Renaud of Chatillon, lord of the desert fortress of Kerak. His castle dominates the vital trade and pilgrimage routes. Renaud respects no treaty. He has plundered caravans and even launched a pirate fleet into the Red Sea, threatening the sacred cities of Mecca and Medina. In 1187, he breaks the latest truce by attacking a massive caravan. This final insult is the spark that ignites the inferno. For Saladin, Renaud has provided the perfect justification for holy war. The call to jihad echoes from Cairo to Baghdad. Saladin gathers the largest Muslim army seen in generations. From the Nile, the Tigris, and the plains of Syria, soldiers and volunteers converge. It is a truly pan-Islamic force, a sea of men and horses, their banners rippling in the desert wind, united by a burning faith and a shared, sacred purpose. Saladin's plan is a masterpiece of strategy. He knows the Crusaders' greatest strength is their impregnable castles. He must force them into a decisive battle on open ground, luring the entire army of the kingdom into a place of his own choosing. He has already selected it: a barren, waterless plateau near a double-hilled peak known as the Horns of Hattin, a place with no water, no shade, and no escape. To spring his trap, Saladin needs the perfect bait. In late June 1187, he lays siege to Tiberias. The city falls, but the citadel, holding Countess Eshiva, wife of Raymond of Tripoli, holds out. Saladin knows King Guy cannot ignore this. The honor of the kingdom is at stake, forcing the Crusader lords to choose: stay safe in their camp, or march across the desert to save the city. The trap is being set. The desert is waiting. The news of Saladin's siege of Tiberias hits the royal council at Acre like a thunderbolt. For King Guy de Lusignan, it presents a terrible dilemma. Guy is a king whose crown rests uneasily, his authority questioned by powerful nobles. He knows his reign depends on the decision he makes in this room. The most experienced commander, Raymond of Tripoli, offers stark advice. "Let the city fall," he pleads. This is an incredible sacrifice, as the city's fortress holds his own wife. But Raymond understands the land. The Crusader army is gathered at La Safari, a place of abundant water. To march across the waterless plateau in the July heat is to walk into a trap. It's exactly what Saladin wants them to do. But other voices in the council scream for action. At their head are Gerard de Riedfort, Grand Master of the Knights Templar, and the reckless Renaud de Chatillon. Burning with personal animosity for Raymond, they accuse him of cowardice. They shout him down, calling him a traitor. Their attacks are a direct challenge to the king's authority. They taunt the king, their words dripping with scorn, urging him to be a true king and march to the rescue of a Christian city. To do anything less, they imply, would be shameful weakness. The council initially agrees with Raymond, but the matter is not settled. That night, Gerard de Riedfort seeks out the king. Alone with the wavering monarch, the Templar begins his poisonous work. He whispers in Guy's ear, preying on all his insecurities, painting Raymond as a rival who wants to see him humiliated. He questions the king's courage. Under the relentless pressure, sometime in the dark hours before dawn, King Guy crumbles. In a catastrophic failure of leadership that will seal the fate of his kingdom, he reverses his decision. The order is given. At sunrise, the army will march. They will abandon the cool, life-giving springs of La Saforie. The largest army the kingdom has ever assembled, 20,000 men, will march east into the barren, sun-scorched hills. They will march to their doom. A river of steel and faith begins its slow, agonizing journey east. At their very center, a bishop carries the most sacred relic in the kingdom, a fragment of the true cross. For the soldiers, it is a tangible piece of God, a guarantee of his favor. Its presence transforms this march into a holy endeavor, but the land itself is an enemy. The desert became a furnace, and the Crusaders were trapped inside it. The ground is black volcanic rock that radiates the sun's heat back at them. The knights, encased in their metal armor over padded coats, begin to cook alive. From the hills, Saladin watches his trap spring shut. He never intended to take Tiberias. The siege was merely the bait. He orders his light cavalry to move. Thousands of Turkish horse archers surge forward. Their job is to harry and harass, to sting like wasps. The arrows rain down from all sides. The horse archers are masters of their craft, firing and melting away, always out of reach. Men and horses fall, wounded and dying. The Crusaders can only raise their shields and endure. They must endure the constant attacks without being able to strike back. By midday, the heat is becoming unbearable. The vital water they carried is nearly gone. Canteens are already running low. A desperate, maddening thirst takes hold. Every step is an effort. Ahead, Saladin's forces block the path to the Sea of Galilee. The trap is closing. The night of July 3rd is an eternity of suffering. There is no water. For the Crusaders, it is the sound of their own doom. As the first hint of gray appears in the eastern sky, the Crusader camp stirs. It is the dawn of what will be the kingdom's last day. They are fighting for a drink of water. They are fighting for their lives. Saladin gives the signal. On command, a storm of arrows. A horrific drumming as thousands thud into shields and flesh. Seeing the disaster unfolding, Saladin unleashed the flames of vengeance. A wall of fire and thick black smoke sweeps up the slope towards the struggling Christians. The Crusaders are now fighting not just an army, but the very elements themselves. In a great, panicked wave, they abandon the fight. Raymond of Tripoli knows this is the end. He will lead a charge, not to win, but to break out of the trap. The last stand takes place on the high ground, around the twin peaks of the Horns of Hattin. Around this tent, they gather for the end. The bishop is killed. The sacred relic falls to Muslim hands. It is captured. Then the Muslims charged them, and the tent fell. With the fall of the tent, the Battle of Hattin was over. King Guy of Lusignan, his face a mask of dust and despair, is captured. He is brought before Saladin.
Saladin turns to his interpreter. "Tell the king," he says, "that it was he and not I who gave that man to drink."
Saladin had sworn a personal oath to kill Renaud with his own hands. With a single powerful stroke, he strikes Renaud of Chatillon, cutting him down. But the warrior monks are shown no mercy. Saladin orders them all executed. This was the day the cross fell to the crescent. In the months after Hattin, his armies swept through the kingdom. The road to Jerusalem lay wide open. On October 2nd, Saladin entered the city. The golden cross came down from the dome of the rock. The call to prayer returned. For the Muslim world, it was unparalleled triumph. The battle is a lesson in pride, disunity, and reckless leadership. It was Saladin's masterpiece of strategy and the Crusaders' fatal blunder. History was changed on that terrible day. Subscribe for more epic history battles every week.